Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Elliot McKnight. I oversee APQ, which is our community engagement leg of APB. Today, we have a very special guest with us tonight. Goes by the name of Akash, who is a great videographer, businessman, entrepreneur, based in Atlanta, Georgia. Has a company called Yes Life, which is a digital channel creating premium content, focus on partnerships to amplify brands, visions, and voices. Just to give you a quick overview, we're going to begin with the presentation from Kosh, and he's going to be obviously showing you how to optimize your smartphone to create visual content. He'll go through that for about 30 minutes, give or take, and then we'll get into a quick Q&A and allow everybody to ask questions. The way we can conducting the Q&A is that, you can throw them in the chat, go from there. And then, if it's calm enough, we may even just open it up and allow you guys to speak yourselves and just hop in. But yeah,
so it's chat only. That's what you're saying?
No, I mean, chat right now, that's usually, but depending on how it goes and how we flowing, we'll
cool.
Get into, we'll just let everybody
Yeah. I don't know why, but my link, thanks for Ronnie. Thanks for putting that. So this is my Instagram. I put it already in there, but it's not showing up. And then this is
the link, throw the PDF.
Where all our work is, like my brand work. Damn it, I hate Zoom, bro. I mean, I love it, but I hate it at the same time. Is this gonna work? Okay, well, I'm gonna go and get you the actual link so you can just click it.
Yeah, maybe you gotta add that HT, that beginning.
Shit, man. All right, is this gonna be
there? You go.
You got it?
Yep, right there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Cool. So that's my brand, the Yes Life, and then that's my personal page. And then if you want to follow the Yes Life on Instagram too, it's just this right here. But yeah, let's get started. So I'll go into more about who I am in just a second. Elliot, thanks for the introduction. I appreciate that.
Wow.
All right, so let's share this shit. I'm gonna cuss today too, so I hope I don't offend you, but it's what's gonna happen. So, all right, cool. So I'm way at the end. I don't need to be at the end. I apologize. Okay, so I'm Kosh. Today I'm gonna teach you how to master video content with your smartphone. I'm just gonna refresh this because this isn't the font I want. And I'm real particular about fonts. Once again, Canva is not obeying. Of course it's doing this now. Okay, well, I'm gonna go through it with the font I don't want because I don't have time to do it the other way right now. Okay, so yeah, in the next 30 minutes, you'll learn. This is what you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn simple fundamentals to create stunning video content with your phone. Here's why I'm qualified. So I've helped tons of artists and creatives of all types create content consistently without using expensive gear. Dude, really? Hold on a second. Let me stop sharing this. I apologize. Come on, Canva. All right, give me a second, bro.
Well, thank you. I sure appreciate it. I just blew up your DMs trying to get in here. So I apologize.
Well, I'm glad you're in here. If you're just joining, thank you. I'm just having a technical difficulty that I've been dealing with before this, and I didn't think I was going to have it now. And I'm having it again, so I'm just trying to get this figured out real quick. It's only going to take me a quick second. Thank you for your patience, too. There's a lot of patient people in here. That's appreciated, because I'm not one.
In the meantime, too, just to remind everybody, if you're just joining in, we'll also be taking questions for Kosh after he gets done with his presentation. So if you have any questions, just definitely throw them in the chat. Feel free.
Okay, here we go. This is what I want. All right, perfect. All right, let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, so back to the beginning. All right, so we got, if you just joined us again, master video content with your smartphone, hosted by me. In the next 30 minutes, I'm gonna teach you the simple fundamentals to create stunning video content with your phone. And then here's why I'm qualified. So I've helped artists and creatives of all types create content consistently without expensive gear. So the biggest issue that I see when I talk to artists or creatives is they tell me that they don't have the tools to create like quality video or like consistent video or compelling video or enticing video, whatever you want to call it, because they don't have like, you know, an X $1,000 camera. They don't have lights, they don't have all these things, but that's not really true. Like you don't really need all that at this point in the game because it's 2020. I'm gonna get into that. So the next part is just a little bit of introduction on me. So I've worked professionally in the entertainment industry for 7+ years, most notably with brands like 21. I hate name dropping, but you can read it. Like I worked with people that you know of, most likely. And then through that time working in this field, I've seen how like technology has really changed the game, and it's changed the game on like a professional level, because now we have like all these like wireless tools that the film industry has never had that change like how you can create film. But for like the consumer, it changes the game for you as well. It won't let me use the arrow keys, which is annoying. Okay, so the skill set of the user is of greater value than the camera itself. So that's like my quote. So like, I think a lot of people nowadays, we get caught up, and I'm gonna go into this more in depth, but we get caught up in like having the newest thing. You gotta have the Sony A7 III to do XYZ, and it's like, you don't really need that. You just need the skills to understand how to use these things. Any camera really, like this is this camera right here, this camera's from like the 1980s, but a lot of the settings and the things that you do on this camera apply to cameras that you could buy like today that just came out in 2020. So that's really what I want to get into, cover in this whatever presentation. So why the camera no longer matters, what I just kind of explained. So yeah, the power is in your hand at this point. So new tech comes out every 12 to 18 months. This sounds great, but it just kind of becomes like tech snobbery. Like it's just like, oh, you got the iPhone 22 and you got, it's like I have an iPhone 8 and I can probably shoot video just as well as an iPhone 11. Because I know what I'm doing. And then it's like, if you want you either have an enormous budget or you have a lot of debt. So if you can afford all these things, great. But I've seen people who shoot, I mean, a very popular camera that a lot of people know, they may not know much about it, but it's a Red. And I've seen a lot of people spend, you know, upwards of $15,000, $20,000 to buy this camera. But when the final output of the video comes out, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look like you spent that kind of money. And then it's like you either have an enormous budget or you have a lot of debt. You can go into a lot of debt buying all these things, but it's kind of unnecessary. So yeah, and this is like coming from somebody who really enjoys these like real expensive tools that I get to use on a consistent basis. But I'm just trying to show we're in a year where like we've probably grown digitally like 10 years overnight, because of like COVID and like not being able to be around people and everybody doing like e-commerce and content being so big in 2020. So it's like everybody's trying to create content ultimately. And it's like everybody doesn't have the tools to go spend thousands of dollars. They don't have the budget, etc., to create the content that they see every day. So it's like, I'm just trying to show you that the power is in your device. So what you're going to see in the next you know, 30 minutes or so is kind of me breaking down the settings of using your native phone, your native camera app on your phone. Now you can buy like, you can purchase third-party apps, and you can also use some free apps, but we're not going to get into those today because that's a little bit more advanced. But what I'm showing you right now will apply to those things as well. This video right here, this is a video that I just shot on my phone when I was in Barbados, just to show you like what you're capable of doing. And as you can see, like this video doesn't look like blown out. The sky is not like too bright. And that's just because I understand the settings. Like the color is a specific way, and this is all from just understanding settings on how to manipulate the camera. So as it says here, like I'm gonna cover like iPhone models 8 and higher basically, but I've had people purchase my guide and they have phone like iPhone 7s, they have Androids. It applies regardless. It's really just what I'm working with and what I think most people are working with. And that's no shade. That's just, so yeah, I'm going to get into that now. Okay. So yeah, if you have your phone out right now, if you don't, I'll give you a second to do that. But yeah, basically you're going to go to your settings section in your phone, and all these screenshots right here, just so you understand, are from an iPhone 8. That's what I have. So you're going to head to the settings section. You're going to scroll to camera. And like I said earlier, if you plan to purchase a third-party camera app, you won't need to do this, but this is to use like your native camera that's in your phone, like the native app. And then the next step is we're going to go through like what these settings mean. So you need to find like record settings, record video. That's what I'm showing here. And then we're going to cover like resolution and frame rate. And I'm just going to explain those more in depth. Also, just a quick like master tip, I guess. You can turn on grid right here. And then every time you open your camera on your phone, you're going to see a grid. Like you're going to see like a, what is it? Like a nine square grid, so that that'll help you like frame your shots better. Okay, so this is kind of where we start getting into the meat of things. So when you click on record video, you're gonna see all these settings, and this is like a lot of times where people get like just their eyes glaze over, they get real confused, but it's really not as confusing as you might think. So we're gonna start with resolution. So as you can see here, we have 720, we have 1080, we have 4K. So a lot of people have probably heard like about 4K. You've heard about these things before. You don't really maybe understand what they mean. I'm gonna get more in depth on that on the next page. But basically what that is the resolution. Like 720 is gonna be a smaller size video than 4K. Like in terms of real estate, like screen real estate that it takes up. And I'll cover that more on the next slide. Then you have 24, 30, 60, and then it goes up from there, and we'll cover those in a second. But this is basically the frame rate. So FPS stands for frames per second. This just means like if this was photos, this would be 24 photos per second. So you're taking 24 frames a second, you're taking 30 frames a second, you're taking 60 frames a second. The reason why you want more frames is because, well, you would want more frames at certain times, is if you're doing slow-mo. So if you're slowing something down and you're only shooting in 24 or 30 frames per second, you don't have enough frames to really slow down that footage. So it's gonna play back really choppy. And you may have seen a music video or something in the past where somebody didn't know what they were doing, and they did that. They slowed down 24 frames or 30 frames, and it looked like the person was like glitching, or like the blur just seemed off, some issue like that. And that's because they didn't shoot in enough frames to begin with. So yeah, going into, and then you also have like the fine print below. So this is basically just telling you like how much storage space this is going to take up on your phone. And so the reason why you would want to shoot like a lower resolution, like a 720 or a 1080, would be because you know it's going to take up less storage space on your phone. So at the bottom here, I put multiply the megabytes by how many minutes you shoot, because it's telling you here that a minute of video will be approximately 40 megabytes for 720 or whatever you choose, right? So if you're choosing 4K 60 frames per second, then it's going to be 400 megabytes per minute. So you got to factor that in terms of how much storage space you have available to you on your phone, because 1 gigabyte of footage is 1,000 megabytes. So that means if you just shoot 2 or 2.5 minutes of 4K footage at 60 frames a second, you're looking at over a gigabyte of storage right there for just 2.5 minutes. So then I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is the resolution like I was speaking of. So why does resolution matter? So resolution matters for a few reasons. One is to achieve higher quality, and one is to crop your video like you do with a photo. So this graph here is so these are just like the different resolutions that I was talking about earlier. The black square is 720. That's how much real estate that takes up. That's how small it is in terms of resolution. And then the green square is 1080, and then the white square is 4K. So if you shoot your video in 4K, what you have the ability to do is downscale the video to 1080, but keep the resolution. So the video is higher quality, but because you're able to take more of that resolution and just scale it down, because it's the same rectangle. It's just twice or 4 times the size. Well, it's twice the size of 1080. So that's a great thing for like trying to get the highest quality. The only like drawback of that is you have to think about, can your computer handle 4K footage? Can it play it back? Because it takes a lot of processing power. And then also, can your phone store that size? Because it's a lot of information that you're storing on the hard drive. But the thing that I love most about 4K is you can essentially shoot one shot. Like if this is just me, like if this is my interview shot, I can shoot this in 4K, but then if I make my video output as 1080, I can crop this video without losing resolution. So I could zoom in and the frame would just be like my face, and I would keep the same quality, but now I'd be able to cut between my face and then this whole wide shot that you see of me. So that may be a little bit confusing, and we can cover that more in the Q&A, but that's probably as best as I can explain it to you without showing it to you. And then so just continuing to set up your device. So the great thing about iPhones is, well, newer smartphones really is, you can shoot up to 120 frames per second and 240 frames per second. So this is something that like I said, this is from an iPhone 8. So this is something that like professional cameras can do, but like phones like really shouldn't be able to do this. It's kind of like cheating, because it costs so much money to be able to have this access to this kind of ability, or these kind of settings, I should say. So you can record slow-mo like with your native app, and that's just by like going into your phone, and I'll do like a practical overview at the end, but like going into your like camera and then selecting slow-mo, and then you can just shoot, but it's going to shoot whatever one of these you have selected. So if you have 120 selected, when you go to the slow-mo setting on your camera and your phone, it's going to automatically shoot at 120 slow-mo. So if you're wondering why you don't have 240, it's because you have to go back into your camera settings and change it to 240. But really the only difference between both of these is just a smoother slow-mo when you play it back, when it's slowed down. So the more frames you have, the more like smooth the blur is, the motion is of the person moving. But the drawback of using these is your sound is unusable. So if you're going to use these, it would be to just like get B-roll. Like, and if you don't know what B-roll is what anything that's being shown that's different from what you initially showed. So if my interview is like what I was telling you, if my interview is just me talking to you right now, and this is how we start the video and you see me, but then the next clip is like a close-up of my phone, then that would be B-roll. Because I'd still be talking, you'd be hearing me talk, but you would see the phone. So that would be B-roll. So that's typically like in professional like settings, we use slow-mo for the B-roll. Like we're doing an interview with Elliot, and Elliot's talking about design. And so he's sitting there and he's talking about design, and then we're showing like slow-mo of him drawing on a desk, because it just looks better to be in slow-mo than in regular speed. It's just something about it looks better. But yeah, that's the problem with this, is like you're not going to be able to use the audio. But the thing is like if you're shooting in slow-mo, you're probably not going to want to use the audio, because it's going to be slow mode audio, or there's just not going to be audio. There's one of two options. It's however it plays out for that phone or that camera that you're using. And if I didn't mention this earlier, all this stuff applies to cameras as well. So if you have a camera right now, these same like principles and settings apply. They just, the way you go about adjusting them is different based on the menu system. Okay, so then this is where we get a little bit more technical, and I think this is something that people probably have seen and they're just like, what the fuck does this mean? So your phone gives you different formats that you can shoot in, and in a professional setting, these are called codecs. You may never need to know that, but you might one day, so that's why I put it in here. So basically you have high efficiency and you have most compatible. These are actually not like technical names of codecs. These are just like what Apple decided to call them, which is fine for what you're doing. But if you just read this as I talk about it, like this format creates a smaller file size, but sometimes makes playback for editing more difficult. So the pro of this is you're going to take up less hard drive space on your hard drive, on your phone, etc. But the con is that your computer might have a harder time trying to edit it, and like it might take more processing power for you to edit it, or it might take more processing power for your phone to edit it, because you could and I teach this as well, you could edit on your phone also. So in my experience, I would say just skip this for the most part, unless you just like really need to get a shot of something and you know you don't have it, like, and you're limited on storage, then cool, go with it. But you don't want to have to like convert this high efficiency to another like file name or another file format later down the road, because then that just takes more time of your time. I would just use I would just use most compatible, because most likely the content that you're creating is going to go to like Instagram or like the web, and most people are going to be viewing it on their phone. So it's not really that important to like have like this higher resolution all the time and like a bigger file size. I mean, it is important, but it's not always like the most important thing. Everything in film kind of requires like you to like a give and take. So it's just like whatever you feel like you need at that time, you go with it. So yeah, most compatible is going to be easier to play back, but the file size is increased. And then the next part, so then I'm just covering frame rates. We talked about this a little bit before. So we got 24 frames per second. So this is, like I said, 24 frames taken every second of video that you're recording. This is the standard for film. It creates a cinematic look. Now, I want to put like some context around that. It creates a cinematic look if you know what you're doing. Like if you're just like in the closet with your light on and the lights above you and you're shooting a selfie of yourself, it's still not going to look good. Like you have to know how to how to do some stuff in terms of your lighting or how you're positioning yourself to get it to look more cinematic, along with accessories and other small things that you can adjust. 30 frames per second, this is typically what's used for news and broadcast. So when you watch TV, they're usually shooting in 30 frames per second. And you might also see like drop frame, which is for 24, this would be 23.97, or you might see 29.97. It's the same thing. We just round up for consistency, but when you're editing, if you see that, you can choose either or. It's not really going to change anything. And then I also put that this may be helpful for overlaying animations, because most of the time, and you guys may be familiar with like After Effects and animations and stuff, but most of the time animations are created in 30 frames per second. So you're just matching the frame rate so it plays back like correctly. You're not like mixing frame rates. So that's the point of knowing.
And this guy's really just regurgitating what we learned in our little thing. So I'm just gonna hopefully I'm not.
You wanna yeah, thank you. And then lastly, we got 60 to 240 frames per second. So like I said, these are just the frame rates you use for slow-mo. And then I said, if you use the native slow-mo feature with your phone, like with your iPhone at least, the footage will play back in slow-mo automatically. So when you play the footage back, it's going to be automatically slow-moed. Okay, and then this is just a quick practical overview that I wanted to show you. So I'm going to share my phone and my camera. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is just like my room. This is just obviously where I'm at, but I'm gonna cut these lights off real quick because I want to show you something that I think a lot of people have trouble with. Okay, so you see, I'm gonna go to video. Now, if I move, you're seeing like the brightness is changing. So this is called exposure. So a lot of times when you shoot stuff, like if I'm over here, but you're looking at the window, you can see like the window is like really bright. And sometimes that's just what it is, because your camera can only pick up like the settings from, or like the environment of one space at a time. But in order to eliminate this, you would set your exposure for like somewhere in between. So I'd probably put my exposure like right here, where now like I can still see in the room and I can still see outside decently. Like it's not the best, like it's not like that, right? But now the room is too dark. So I want to set this like somewhere in the middle where it's like even, and then I'm going to press and hold. And then that's signaling that you're doing auto exposure, auto focus lock. So now if I move, you're not seeing that shift in brightness anymore. And that's just like, that's a big issue that makes your video content look like amateur, is you have these like constant shifts in brightness, or it just looks digital, and you're able to eliminate that by doing that. And then if you need to adjust the exposure a little bit, you can touch this sundial and just move it slightly up or down based on, you know, like if I come in here and now I need more light, I can just raise that up. But now I'm not having these like dramatic shifts everywhere. So yeah, I wanted to just touch on that real quick. And then I wanted to show slow-mo too. So the only thing is like, I don't have a person. All I have is like my hand, but I'm going to just use my hand. So if I wave my hand like this, obviously you're seeing this in real time. If I play this back, it's automatically slow mode based on and it's like super grainy. Like I get that, but that's just because there's not enough light in here. And when you shoot slow-mo, you need more light. So that's another reason why it's like really grainy. But it's playing automatically back in slow motion, and that's based on the I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. That's based on the slow-mo setting that you select in your settings before doing this. So it's not going to show you on the screen, but it will show you on the screen when you shoot regular speed what I shouldn't say regular speed. When you shoot, yeah, well, I guess regular speed. When you shoot in the native video section of the camera, it's going to tell you at the top here, as you can see, 4K 24. So it's telling you right there, like you're shooting at 4K and you're shooting at 24 frames per second. So now you know like exactly what your settings are. I wish it would tell you on slow-mo as well, but it doesn't. And yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of like the practical part of it. I just wanted to show you that real quick so you can have that extra tip. A lot of these things, you'll have a lot more control and be able to change these settings more on the fly when you get like when you go ahead and like pay for like a third-party app, or you get another like camera app to use. So I'm gonna just stop sharing that real quick, and then I'm gonna go back to my, I only got like 2 more pages, not even. And then yeah, so this is my guide. This was just the appetizer. If you want to go ahead and grab this guide, it's $19. It breaks down a lot of things like I listed here. You're going to learn about lighting. You're going to learn about framing, also called composition. You're going to learn about editing. You're going to learn about what apps to use, what gear to get. I'm basically giving you 7 years of my knowledge into a guide, so that in the guide's like 50 pages. So you can just like, people have read it in less than an hour and been able to get results. So just to be able to like take my knowledge and apply it to this phone that you use every day. So now you can literally just go out wherever you are, or maybe if you're in, because it's COVID now, in wherever you are, and just shoot whatever you need to shoot whenever you need to shoot it, because you have the knowledge now to capture exactly what you need to get. So these are just some reviews from people that have purchased it. But ultimately, man, I'm trying to help 1,000 creative people. Like, it doesn't matter really what you do. If you feel like you're an artist or you feel like you're creative, I'm trying to help 1,000 people be able to create better content. So I have makeup artists, I have music marketers, I have photographers. This dude, I call him horticulturist, but he calls himself a plant educator. He does like creative content around plants. So yeah, like pretty much anything you can think of. I mean, we know that 2020 content is king. So, and video content converts and also engages better than any other form of content. So, ooh, I need to turn my light back on. I don't want my light back on. But yeah, so that's pretty much the gist. I'm ready for questions if you have them. If they're already in here and I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, we got a couple in here already.
Okay, cool.
One, just thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Kosh, for doing that. Very informative stuff, man. It looks like Quincy has a question about can you save footage during a shoot so you don't run out of space during a shoot?
Yeah, so it depends on what you mean by during a shoot, but basically if you're shooting on an iPhone, what you can do is you just need to like have a computer with you, or you need to have like your Google Drive connected or your Dropbox or whatever, where like as soon as those clips get put into your camera roll, you can just upload them immediately, or you can airdrop them immediately, so that you can just delete them off of the phone and then keep going. But I also would just recommend like getting it's like 99 cents a month. Like you just get the like expanded what is it, like the Apple storage or whatever. And then that way you have more space to shoot. But that's it. Anybody want to like talk about anything?
Yeah, man. And y'all can, I mean, You can also use the
If you
raise your
want to
hand
chime
feature.
in at this
Yeah,
point,
just jump
like,
in.
I'm good.
Quincy, you want to go live, man? I'm about to unmute you, bro. I'll make sure that you. Quincy, you
Look,
live
man.
right now.
All right, I'm at work like a mug, so I appreciate y'all. I appreciate this quick tutorial because I'm
He's
definitely like on the
learning
clock
and he's working at the same
and
time.
I'm getting paid. I'm definitely on the clock trying to step my game up. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean that was the best tip really. I couldn't think of how to
Very
like
cool.
I don't know. They got the 11 Max Pro or Pro Max, however you call it, right? And for the
Yeah.
specific purpose of shooting video is why I bought it.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't figure out how to keep from loading it all up with all this
Mhm.
footage. I did just get the new MacBook Pro. So I guess that makes sense to just airdrop it as soon as it's getting full. It seems like it's getting full. Just go ahead and airdrop it onto the Pro.
Exactly.
So and the external hard drive, having that hooked up, I guess that would make more sense too. You can just drop it onto your external hard drive so that your phone's not overloaded, your computer's not overloaded, and just plug it up to your external or drop it on your external. Come revisit it later.
Exactly.
It makes sense. I think that was the biggest question I had. Okay, quick question on gimbals and handheld rigs. All right, what is like pros and cons between a gimbal and a handheld rig?
So that's another. I'll talk about that a little bit, but that's another thing that I cover in the guide, and I just put just so everybody knows, the guide link is in the chat. So if you want to check that out real quick while I answer this question.
Cool.
But basically, gimbal is just going to give you smoother control. Like, think of like motor control, like motor stabilization over your hands. So you trying to walk with a phone and how light it is, it's very easy for this thing to just, but you having a gimbal, it's like it removes all that shake.
Okay,
So,
as opposed to a handheld rig, how do you?
That's basically what I'm saying when I say holding your phone. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
A handheld rig is essentially the same thing because you can have like a cage on the phone, right? And you can be holding it out here and it could have like a microphone on it or whatever. And I talk about, microphone options and everything. But you're still at the mercy of how steady your hands are. And if you're like walking on a trail or you're walking up and down stairs, like it's pretty much over with for you. Okay, he's gone.
He had somebody calling in. He had to go answer a call.
Take it.
That man got that call. I told you he was at work. That man got that call. No, I'm good. I appreciate it though. I appreciate the information. That
for sure.
helped me out a lot, Kyle. So I check out the guide.
For sure, definitely. I appreciate it, bro.
I have a question. It's not necessarily a technical question. It's just more has to do with kind of like the industry shift, right?
Okay.
What have been the trends that you've noticed since the like COVID regulations have been implemented, as far as like the demand from clients from video perspective? And I'm also interested to hear your perspective on kind of like the influx of content that people are creating on social media sites, right? Like I think while quality is a question, while like visual quality is a question, I think kind of like content quality is an interesting conversation to have too, right? Like particularly
for sure.
When it started, like everybody was kind of like, okay, well, I got to keep whatever I have going in this digital space. And I feel like people are flooded with content that has kind of slowed down a little bit. And I think we'll probably enter into another wave as people realize like they ain't coming outside anytime soon, so
right.
Trends are concerned.
Yeah. So I think to answer your first question in terms of like, the first question was about the industry and how technology has affected that space. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I would say like it depends on like where you want to go with this, because I could take it a lot of ways. But now you can buy cameras that 5 years ago would cost $10,000 for under $2,000, and they do the same thing. Like I said about like it doesn't really matter about what camera you have. It's kind of becoming this gray area where it's like. And that kind of goes into the next thing about what you said about the quality of content is like, I'm starting to think that video quality matters, but it only matters dependent upon what you're going for. Like, I just had a meeting with a I guess she's like a social media star. I don't really know what else to call her. She's a big YouTuber. Her name is Kayla Nicole. She has like 4 million subscribers or something. She has 4 million Instagram followers. And all the content that she makes is on her phone. Like everything that she makes. She has an iPhone 11. She shoots it herself. She edits it herself. And that's a big reason when you talk about COVID, is like, that's a big reason why I even created this guide. Because essentially I'm kind of putting people out of business. I'm like disrupting the industry by making a guide like this. Because it's like, I'm teaching like the person how to fish so you can go do it yourself. Instead of like you having to, I'm eliminating like you having to like contact me and say, well, how much is it going to be for this 1 minute video? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or how much is it going to be for you to bring the team in and do this whole shoot for me, which is thousands of dollars. And now you can pretty much do something maybe not as peak, top-notch, high-end quality, but good enough that people are going to resonate with it, and it's going to like get you the engagement and the conversion that you're interested in. In terms, going back to her though, in that perspective, and why I say it's changing the industry is because like they did a whole, like her team did a whole production with like cinema cameras, which are just like high-end quality, like movie film cameras. They had lights, they had a director, they had all this stuff. They had a whole crew. And the episodes that they put together, they don't like they don't feel authentic. They don't feel authentic to what she typically does. They don't feel authentic to her audience. Says that they're not interested in that kind of content. It doesn't feel authentic to what they know her for. So now we're at a point where we're like talking about, okay, well, and I didn't do that shoot. I was brought in after that. So it's like, now I'm in a meeting with them and we're talking about, okay, well, do you want to shoot this whole thing on multiple iPhones? And we just have a whole crew with multiple iPhones, because that's what your audience resonates with. And that's what they know your brand to be. And it'll be a little bit more polished than what you typically put out, because you're not doing it on your own, but it'll still feel authentic to you.
Right.
So I think it's just important to, take reference of what's happening, but not be stuck on any one thing, because technology is going to continue to change this game. And I really believe that, like, you know, probably within the next 5 to 10 years, a lot of the budgets that we're seeing are going to continue to dwindle, because I've had conversations with, you know, major music video directors, and they're telling me, labels are telling them, why do we want to spend 50 to 100K on a music video with you guys when we could spend less than 5,000 with a guy who has like a DSLR, and we're going to get the same amount of views on YouTube.
Right. And you could shoot 10 videos for the price of that one. And really the aggregate game is really important right now.
Exactly. So I think it's just important to be adaptable and flexible. And that's a big part of me even creating this guide. It's like, I can sit here in my ways and I can say, well, people are just going to call me and we're going to do work. But it's like, as many times as I've had conversations with clients and I've had to educate them on, like, this is what it means to do this. Like, and so they have some expectation of why they're spending this money. It's like, why not just make a guide and let you read through it in an hour? And then now you pretty much have a basis of understanding. So now when you approach this later with your company or whatever the case, it's not like you're green to it.
For sure.
So, yeah. But great question, though. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you.
That's it.
Anybody else have any more questions for my guy, Kosh?
I got a question for Ronnie. What headphones you got on, bro? I want to know.
These are just some cheap TCLs I got for Christmas.
Okay, yeah. Cheap headphones are the way to go. Like, I go with headphones all the time. Yeah. Like on set, like, need a pair of headphones, you might lose them. They're like $20, whatever. They're not like $400. You know.
Exactly.
So, yeah. All right. I mean, I guess
I have
that's
a question. No.
Oh, you got a question? All right. What's up?
Okay, so
I don't know if your questions count, but I'll take it.
I really want to know. I think you touched on this a little bit before, but like in terms of once you have like some video content and you start getting into editing, do you recommend editing straight off the iPhone, or you recommend doing it on the laptop?
I personally like editing on a computer, but that's
Mhm.
just me. I'm already used to that, right?
Right.
I would say it's really up to you what you like. Like some people like tell me, and I'm gonna link this too real quick because I'm glad you brought that up. Let me just I put the guide in there. I told people it's $19. They may not be ready to buy right now. That's cool, but I got the editing course too. So if you just want like a free editing course, I just dropped that in there. It's the last link I just put in the chat. If you want a free editing course, I teach you how to edit anything. This is what happens when you have do not disturb and people still call you. Yeah, I teach you how to edit anything. So like you can take all the clips that you have in your phone. You can use this app I show you how to use. The app is free. And you can like just go at it and just edit. It's like a 45-minute video you can watch. It breaks down how to edit pretty much everything. You can edit on your phone or the computer. You can start the edit on your phone and then finish it on the computer or vice versa. So yeah, if you want to check that out, it's completely free. You just have to sign up and then it'll be sent to your email. But to answer your question, yeah, I'm just really accustomed to editing on the computer. So for me, it doesn't feel as intuitive to try to edit on the phone. And I just feel like I have big thumbs too. So maybe if you have like small fingers, then it's easier for you. But like I said, that girl, Kayla Nicole, she edits all her stuff on her phone. So I think it's just an adaptation. And if she's used to being on the phone all the time and that's easier for her, that's why I'm glad I made that editing course, because it allows you to do whatever feels best for you. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Bet. Well, Kosh, I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody for coming by. Thank you for spending the time. Hope everybody is safe.
Yeah, appreciate everybody for coming in and just checking me out. Thank you.
This is great, fellas.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, it's very informative. I'm gonna definitely grab that guide too.
Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions too before we go, like if you think of something later or you get the guide or you get the course and you have a question, like feel free to just DM me. I'm going to just drop my Instagram link in here one more time in case you missed it earlier. And just go ahead and shoot me a follow and then we'll go from there.
Bet. Thank you, everyone.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. We'll see you soon.